Welcome back to our channel, Artist on Record, your ultimate intimate conversation with your favorite artist. And if it's your first time here, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell to be notified. And if you want to join our members only club, just hit that join button for $9.99 a month. You can see these episodes unedited, uncut. But today we have a special guest, none other than the renowned lawyer who represented Ted Bundy at one time. We have John Henry Browne in the studio today. John's going to take a break from the courtroom. He's going to share with us the top 5 albums or songs that motivate him and inspire him. So without further ado, let's dive into John Henry Browne's personal playlist. Don't touch that dial, kids. It all starts now. There we are. And John also has a book, The Devil's Defender. So I will put links down below. You can order it, check it out. And I have the Audible right here. You guys can all hear that.
Ted Bundy. I waited several months and in the fall finally wrote a letter telling him
I have the Audible, but I'm going to get the book. I have to get it. And yeah, so first of all, music. You played bass. Before you were a lawyer, you were a bass player. So let's talk a little rock and roll. You're on a desert island. You only have 5 albums you can take.
Oh, I've done this in my head many times. Go ahead.
Okay, so now the people that you love and respect and you couldn't live without listening to. This is the only 5. Who would it be?
Well, I've asked myself that usually with one album on a desert island, and I would always come down to Van Morrison's Astral Weeks, which is really almost channeled. Of course, I think most of Van Morrison's stuff is channeled. By the way, my band opened for Van Morrison when he was in Them. A lot of people don't remember that Van Morrison actually sang Gloria. And he's gone so far since then. But it would be Van Morrison, Jackson Browne. And we got time to think of the ones we love. Who I think is a poet, and I know him personally, and he's an amazingly wonderful person. I recently, in the last 5 years, got really into Richard Thompson, the Irish, I believe, good guitar player who, when you see him live, which I have, it looks like he has 4 hands. I mean, Rolling Stone said he was one of the best 10 guitar players ever, but most people don't really know him. I really liked John Prine a lot. I saw John Prine when I was living in Chicago in graduate school in the bar, and he was still working for the post office and would come on Thursday nights to this bar in Chicago, which the cover charge was 25 cents. And he'd get more drinking than he should, but it was brilliant. He was brilliant. He was quite a poet. And then Warren Zevon. So I could go on and on about music. I don't know what I would do without music. My high school band in Palo Alto was the Warlocks. Who became the Grateful Dead. So Palo Alto was a very interesting place to be raised. There was all kinds of, Joan Baez lived there. Ken Kesey lived up in the mountains. Neil Young eventually ended up living up in the mountains. He's also a brilliant musician, I think.
Yeah.
My best friend in the world, Michael, who passed away very sadly when he was in his early 60s, was a very good musician, had a band in Palo Alto. And when I went to college in Colorado, I arranged for him to come to Colorado on a scholarship for one of the track teams, I think. And he always had a band. So he was organizing a band in Denver and couldn't find a bass player. And he came home one day or night with this cheap imitation Fender Japanese bass, which was just awful. And he proceeded to teach me how to play bass. So I think it was within a month we were playing pretty major gigs. Then the band, our managers of the band were also the promoters of music in Denver. And at the same time, I was very politically active. So I don't know if you got that part of my book or not, but I was arrested by the Denver police, which is one of the things that made me go to law school.
Yeah.
And the band was about to sign a contract with Elektra Records, which at the time was a big deal. And then I got thrown in jail for something I didn't do. And then I just went off the deep end and decided, well, I'm not going to be a musician. I'm going to be a lawyer and save people. Bill Kreutzmann, the drummer for the Dead, I just saw a YouTube thing on him, and he was actually a year behind me in high school. Gerry and the other people were older than I was. But Bill was the youngest of the group. He had children when he was in high school.
Oh my God.
That I remember. So, all the people in our band were very gifted musicians. They've all stayed in the music industry their entire careers and lives. I wasn't. I was just pretending to be a bass player and getting away with it. So remember the last job I ever played was at Regis College in Denver, Colorado. And we played with Big Brother, I think. We opened for them because our managers were the promoters of all these concerts. So they'd always ask us to open for all of them. And I decided not to do the contract and leave the band and go to law school. And I put my Gibson EBO in my case, and I picked it up and I forgot to lock it. And the Gibson fell on the stage and the neck broke off. So I figured, well, that was a sign. So that got me to law school. So it's hard, people think I'm rich and famous or whatever. And that's not true. In the last 5 years, I've done 3 murder cases for young Black men who I think were innocent for free. So if you count my overhead and everything, that was basically about $300,000 that I put into it.
Yeah.
And then I represented Sergeant Bales, the Kandahar case. And I did that pretty much pro bono, which had me flying to Afghanistan in Black Hawk helicopters at 64 years old with 50 pounds of body armor on. And I was listening to Leonard Cohen in the helicopter, because I was told before I got on the helicopter, the most dangerous part in Afghanistan was in a helicopter. And so I just put on Leonard Cohen, Hallelujah, and played it over and over and over again as I was in the helicopter.
That was Mr. John Henry Browne. And if you want to check out The Devil's Defender, links are down below in our description. And make sure you do put your comments down below. We always like to hear what you have to say. Until then, kids, it's only rock and roll, and we like it. And remember, who loves you, baby? We do.